Okay, here we are at the wiring trainer, and what we're going to do is show you how to work with this non-metallic cable, which is commonly referred to as Romex cable. Romex is almost like saying tissues are Kleenex. It was a brand name, and basically that's what stuck. So the way this non-metallic cable, or Romex, works is it has a series of wires inside of the outside sheathing. Okay, this is a rubberized sheathing, and what it is, this is actually, it goes by gauge. So this is 14 gauge, and it has 2 conductors in it. Now that can be a little confusing, and let me explain that. 14-2 Romex wire actually has 3 wires in it, but the ground wire, if you look closely, there's a ground wire in there. The ground wire actually doesn't count as a conductor. So that's why we get the 14-2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to start to take this sheathing off, because that's what we're going to need to do in order to start wiring our boxes up here for plugs and outlets and so forth. All right, so what I'm going to do is I actually have the tool in this little tool storage area here that I have. I have all the tools that I showed you in the last section, or in the last video, and I'm going to pull this tool out that actually has a little tooth on the inside. If you look close at the tool, it's got a little tooth inside there. Let's see if I can hold it at an angle. And what that does is that strips off just a little bit of the inside of there. It actually makes a strip that we can use to pull away. I'll just see how we do that in just a second. So what I'm going to do is, and by the way, some people like to use a utility knife. I find this a little safer, particularly if you're just learning how to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take about the last inch or so on the end of the Romex. I'm going to put the tooth right in the center. See if I can turn it this way so you can see it right in the center of that Romex. And by the way, I've already put my safety glasses on. When you're working as a student in the lab, you always use safety glasses when you're dealing with any tools, and the reason for that is because you're going to be stripping wire, and if you get a piece of insulation that flies up, you don't want it hitting you in the eyes. So anyway, now I've got my safety glasses on. I go ahead, I'm going to pinch that down, and I'm going to carefully, with one hand holding the Romex, the other hand holding my wire stripper. You can see how I have it held. I go ahead and pull away from me and just kind of give it a little snap. Be careful that you're not pinching your fingers in here. It's easy to do. And you can see I've made a little bit of a slit in there. Just a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is to put that little tooth right back in that same spot. I'm going to squeeze it again, slide it out like that, and now I've cut through there. So I've taken 2 passes with that, and now you can see I've broken that open a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the wire strippers back in there, the Romex strippers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start peeling this back like so. Now, I'm going to take my linesman's pliers, and I'm going to carefully grab the outside sheathing, being careful not to grab any of the 3 wires inside here, either the black, the white, or the bare copper one, which is your ground. And I'm going to pull this back. Now, I'm going to measure out with my hand, I don't know, about 4 to 5 inches, and I'm just going to pull back. Just like that. And I'm going to hold the edge here, and I'm going to continue to pull. Sometimes you got to pull quite a bit and quite hard. And you're going to start to peel back, and as you can see, sometimes it comes off a little bit at a time. Put all my scrap in there for putting away later. And I'm just going to pull back. Sometimes it's easier. Peel this like a banana just with your bare hands. You can see it's starting to come off right now. Okay? There we go. Now you'll also notice that you get all these little pieces of paper and Romex, and notice how I throw it right in here to keep the lab and the floor clean. You can clean that up when you're done at the end of the class period. Alright, so I've peeled back about probably about 4 to 6 inches of cable, which is plenty for our application here. And then when you get it down to here, what you want to do is you want to trim off that little tag end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my linesman's pliers, or you could also take your diagonal cutters, we'll use those in this case. There's your diagonal cutters. And carefully, not cutting your finger or any of the 3 wires in there, I'm going to go ahead and clip that right off like that. Put my garbage in there, so I'm left with a nice flat surface like that. So again, I've got about 4 to 5 inches of wire, and that's a good start. So now I have cable that I can actually wire into one of my boxes.